Hi, I am Donnie, and this is my communication project. I will be talking about how I use these different ways to how I communicate. I'm sorry if the view is really awful. I'm in the living room. Anyway, social media. If I'm being honest, I don't use social media as much as I used to do. I only use probably Pinterest and YouTube, and that's about it. I don't really communicate with people like that. It's a lot easier to just communicate with someone face to face than on an app. But I do communicate with workers or faculty members through email, my phone, and everything like that. But most of the time, I prefer talking face to face. It's a lot easier, and you get your point across a lot better. But I do have trouble controlling the amount of internet I use, whether it's on Netflix, YouTube, or any other type of thing. Even Twitch sometimes. But it's mostly used for entertainment, not communication. I'm not really culturally influenced. I am Mexican, but I'm also a mixture of other things as well. From Irish to Native American to Southern um Southern Europe or so. There's a lot of stuff in there. But I'm not also culturally affected as well. A person's culture is not a way I communicate. While it's cool to learn about other ones and have people talk about their own culture, it's never really affected how I talk to others. But I do suck at nonverbal communication. One thing I can talk about is probably Mexican culture. It's very more body language than anything. I don't really know how to explain it. It's more so it's just me mm, just portraying myself as either happy or just angry. It's also about a lot of facial features as well, especially with young Mexicans. For older Mexicans, I will say this from what I've been around, it's a lot more stone faced. Very many like show a lot more expression. A lot of the time, they're just the same face over. It's more their tone. I do know a bit of sign language to get by, just enough to have a small conversation. I know a basic alphabet, but I can say that most Mexican stereotypes are true from what many think. At least not that they're dumb and everything, but they do. But like little habits they do have are there. How long is this going? I'm not a very social person, as you can see. I'm mostly at home all the time. If I do go out, it's for school, and it's like for an hour or so. I mostly communicate with my parents, my family, my cat. Hello. But I can create a conversation very easily. Even now, from a little example, is just me talking to this girl I met once and creating a friendship with her and never finding out her name until later on. I can easily communicate with anyone and become friends with them. It's more of just about flow. It's easier in person than online. But online is sometimes helpful if it's long distance or I can't go anywhere. But it feels like there's no emotion going on, as if I were talking to you and you can hear my tone, see my facial expressions, or seeing me just talk, like just moving around and giving you nonverbal signs. I gotta say, a lot of these that I'm doing are little quiz are from the quizzes in the book. So while I don't quote the book in here, I do mention it in the sources as I did use his quizzes in my presentation. I'm like an emotional sponge. This is how my parents have always said. I absorb those around me's emotions very easily, and how they feel is usually how I feel, and that portrays my attitude, so forth. So I try to resolve my round a lot about a lot of happy things or things that just keep me up. But sometimes I do just go down. I'm my friend's therapist free of charge. Back to where I left off. Sorry, I'm having to do Screencastify and it only allows me to record 5 minutes up. So a lot of this will be cut out. And it's raining a lot more. But anyway, as I was saying, I understand people's emotions a lot more. And I'm a sponge. And I'm my parent and I'm my parents and my friends' free therapist. So I'm a major psychology. But still, I do get irritated very easily by my siblings. But it's mostly if I feel drained of energy or emotion. I get so irritated, I get angry, and it's just hard for me to calm down from that. My emotions are sometimes out of place, and I can't control that. But a lot of the time, it does affect how I communicate with my parents or how I see them. Sometimes if I just don't understand what's going on or how I feel, I am just seeing them in a bad light. But if I do understand how I feel, or so, it's easier for me to understand where they're coming coming from as a point when I'm talking to them. Okay, this is where with my parents comes in. They've taught me always that nothing matters. It's how the person works. It's how they treat others is what matters, not who they are as a person. That's them. That's their own personal business. If I'm not in a close relationship or I'm not close to them, that doesn't matter to me. This is where I don't realize I use gender neutral terms like firefighter or chairman. Well, not chairman, but server. It's just something natural to me that's like, oh, it's just a regular type of word. I use fireman, firefighter, whatever. They mean the same thing to me. And so for sexist and racist language, that doesn't really come across in my head, sort of, because I'm not looking for it or I'm not trying to use it as like that. I'm just trying to use a word that means what it means. Like how a lot of time gay right now, I'm not saying this as anything, but gay right now means a man who loves a man. But how I used to use it before I found out was gay means happy. That's how I always used to use it. I never knew anything else. It means this, I used like this. I actually do use a lot of man, dude, bro, but I use it for everyone. It doesn't matter. I use it for every single person I know. I'm actually, from what the tests and quizzes say in the book, I'm a neutral type. I just more so go along with the flow and don't try and dig deep into it. School has already made that worse for me. Uh, I love talking with my hands, as you can see. I'm already moving around, I'm using my hands to communicate, and I have been told to stop, but it's so hard when I'm trying to communicate and my hands are just going everywhere trying to get my point across. A little thing my brothers and my brother and my sister have noticed, along with my parents, is that I cannot keep eye contact. I'm always looking away or always looking somewhere else. And I don't even notice half the time. I'm just talking to them and I'm either looking at what they're doing or I'm looking at the wall. And I won't notice that I'm not looking at them anymore. I want to say I'm very animated, but I don't really look at myself when I'm talking. I don't talk to myself in a mirror. I used to do that as a child and try to make myself cry in a mirror from what I found out, but I don't do that anymore. So I want to say I use very nonverbal communication, but sometimes my posture or how I hold myself isn't always the best, and I always give off like I'm upset or I'm awkward, and I'm not trying to. It's just I don't notice it. And that's actually how a lot of my communication is. I don't notice what I'm doing, and I'm just doing it naturally. I'm not sure if I should change that or not, or if that's a bad thing. To me, it's a kind of normal thing. Oh, we're almost there. Um, I'm not very okay. I can make quick judgments very easily. If let's say my friend does like this person, and they actually give me reasons to, and this person does show this behavior to me when I first meet them, it's like, oh, I don't like you. But I do listen out for both sides of the story. My dad has always told me that you can listen to one side and they will tell you what they think. You can listen to another side and they'll tell you what you think. and we're back. I was just saying I listen to both sides of the truth and both sides of the story, and I listen to the truth. That's how I've always been. I will listen to everything and everyone. From the quizzes, I am kind of sad from this because the only good thing I was average at was stress management, and that says so much about how I am as a person, saying that I focus more on work and have learned to control my stress. I do daydream a lot though. I daydream so much. I'm really creative. Yeah. But sometimes I have a hard time understanding my emotions, which leads to my emotion high or low. I also have a hard time expressing them. But I'm working on that, and that's something I'm learning to do. I like how I mentioned before, I create relationships easily like with the girl in my class. Didn't know her name, but formed a friendship with her very quickly. I want to say I'm really good at keeping a friendship, but I have lost a lot over the years, and it does take a lot of work and commitment. And sometimes the person on the other end isn't the best person to keep. I am very easy to open up to, and that's actually how I got my best friend. I just opened up to them, and they became my best friend in the whole world. But depending on the person, depending on how they act or treat me, it could be hard after a while once you open up to reopen up again. You don't know if they will hurt you or they will actually learn to understand and not push your boundaries. But sometimes you have to do it the hard way. I like to keep everything to myself, if I'm being honest. It sometimes depending on the person, like I said before, I can open up greatly and give them my whole life story, or I can keep it all to myself and just give little bits. But when it comes to my parents or so, it's not like that. It's more we talk about what we like in common or what we have in common with each other. Or so, like the other day with my dad, it's gonna be really hard to roleplay. Like, oh hey dad, did you see the new Marvel stuff coming out? And he was like, yeah, I did. They're kind of cool. But it's just like one. Sometimes he will be cooking dinner, and I'll just be sitting down on a stool, and he would be like, "Have you heard about the Theseus riddle?" And I was like, "No, tell me." It's more so like that. I'm looking out for someone. It's more so like that. We have a lot in common, and it's kind of sometimes easy for us to talk when we have things in common. But I can be closed off when I have like different things that they don't like, and so sometimes I keep it to myself. I can make a friend with anyone as long as they're nice and they're cool. I like they're like not, mean or anything. I can become their friend pretty easily. I allow myself to be walked over. I'm working on that as myself, but I allow myself to be walked over. Sometimes though, I can be forceful when I need to, or I can collaborate. It usually depends on the person if they're willing to, or it depends on me and my state of mind. From what the many social exchange theories or the interpersonal communication theories, my favorite was the social exchange theory because I relate to that one the most. This exchange theory is more so you keep on giving sometimes, and the other person either expects more or expects less. But the thing that interests me, but one thing in there that on the article that I sourced or cited down below is that sometimes when you give too much, the person feels as if they feels guilty or feels as if they're not giving enough. And that's me. Sometimes people give me too much or give me just enough, and I need to give more back as compensation. Or if I don't give anything at all, I'm a leech or so. And that's just me with my problems. But that's what interests me about this theory is that this theory is like, weirdly enough, communism. In theory, it should work. It should be amazing. As I was saying before, like communism, in theory it should work, but in play it doesn't. It doesn't work at all because it's unbalanced. It shouldn't, it just doesn't work. That's why this theory always interests me. And here are my sources, ones that we used in class. And I could thank Nickerson or Charlotte Nickerson for the social exchange theory and all the experiments she mentioned in her thing. Anyway, see ya.